Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear scholars, today we have to discuss about the different models for teacher evaluation, and the Lotte Danielson framework is one of them that is very uh, popular framework for teacher evaluation. Therefore, here in this session today, I would like to share with you in detail. As usual, as I say, before listening and starting to seeing video, you are required to have pen and paper with you to note the key points and highlight the critical points you wanted to be declared, discussed. And finally, when you have finished the listening, arrange your questions and ask in Google Meeting discussion, or you may post them on the Google Classroom. I would try my level best to respond them in time. You know, this is Dr. Jadam Tatla, and we are here in class of MPhil education, educational policies and policy studies. The course is performance evaluation of the educational personnel. Let's see what this model says. You may see here in this Sophia type diagram, there are 4 components: planning and preparation, classroom environment, instructions, professional responsibilities. You are aware about the planning and preparation, that it's the very first step taken by the teacher towards when he goes to start his lesson. Before starting the lesson, he or she is responsible to plan and prepare his lesson, and then to manage the classroom discipline and set a certain environment that is conducive to learning. Then it comes the stage of instructions. By adopting a certain pedagogy, by adopting a certain method of teaching, we have to deliver content to the students. Meanwhile, to carry out all this in the classroom, he or she have different professional responsibilities. These responsibilities have been discussed here in this model in detail. You can see qualities of distinguished teachers from a framework for teaching by Danielson, adapted from CEC workshop. He has discussed over here certain domains. The first domain that we have seen in the previous diagram, that is about planning and preparation. In planning and preparation, demonstration knowledge of content and pedagogy is required to plan, and demonstrating knowledge of student, setting instructional outcomes. What would be the objective and outcomes of this certain class, demonstrating knowledge of resources, designing coherent instruction, and designing student assessment. These are the things before starting the lesson the teacher have to plan and prepare. Wherein domain 2, the classroom environment, that is all about creating an environment of respect and respect. There should be mutual understanding, mutual respect and rapport between teacher and student. That is the classroom environment. And certainly they are ready to learn and love to hear their teacher. And accordingly, teachers love to teach. Establishing a culture for learning, managing classroom procedures. These procedures might be in write up written and be pasted in on the wall for the students. Managing student behavior, organizing physical space. So the feasibility of their sitting, the physically easiness is very necessary to be there in the classroom. That is also a component of classroom environment. Domain 3, instruction. Communicating with students, questioning and discussion techniques, engaging students in learning, using assessment and instruction, demonstrating flexibility and responsiveness. Instruction is all about these components have been stated here. So if they all are kept in mind, the instruction becomes much better. The last domain here is the professional responsibilities. These are reflecting on teaching, maintaining accurate records, communicating with families, in parents of the students, and the visitors of the class or of the school, participants in the professional community, participating, different type of professionals from the community are ready to participate in the school activities, growing and developing professionally, showing professionalism is all about the professional responsibilities of a teacher in a school. Let's discuss in detail the domain one, planning and preparation. Uh, Here you can see 1A, demonstrating knowledge of content and pedagogy. You can see on the writing board with the chalkboard with a chalk teacher is thinking about something, and we can imagine what she might be thinking. He, she is, she is in the phase of demonstrating knowledge of content through some certain pedagogy. So knowledge of content and the structure of the discipline, knowledge of prerequisites relationships, knowledge of content related pedagogy. So to complete her question of solving equations and algebra, for the next step, she is planning how to write and describe with her disciples. 1B, demonstrating knowledge of students. That is about knowledge of child and adolescent development, knowledge of the learning process, knowledge of student skills, knowledge and language proficiency, knowledge of students' interacts and cultural heritage, knowledge of students' special needs. This is also needed to be carried out through the content delivery parallel, because most of the time there are the turning points when the teacher have to quote some certain example relevant to the certain step that makes students much clearer about the philosophy and the content, philosophy of the content. So teachers have to manage likewise examples while they are there to deliver the content and demonstrating there. Most of the time they are demonstrating uh, with certain relevant examples, which makes easy learning of the students, and with the ground realities, students memorize them for a long time, and they become used to quote the examples themselves, and they love the demonstrating process of the teacher, and learning for them becomes much easier. 1C, setting instructional outcomes. You can see in this diagram how the teacher is participating with his disciples. So through this, when they are setting the instructional outcomes, values, sequence, and alignment, clarity, balance, suitability for diverse students. So different type of students are there in the class. There is the diversity. So to the diverse nature of the students, uh, they have to set their goals that are common for everyone. 1D, demonstrating knowledge of the resources. Resources for classroom use, resources to extend content, knowledge and pedagogy, resources for students. So you can see in the background there is are the bookshelves. I think so they are in the library. And this, these all are the resources available for them to be taken help from these. 1E, designing coherent instruction. In this diagram, you can see all of the gadgets of the students so-called similar, and they are working with, someone is working with one finger, some people are working with two fingers. No doubt, the gadget which have the facility to be used at the same time, keyboard with the two fingers. Those students will work smoothly and effectively as compared to the other who are using only one finger, or there is the capacity of using one finger on the keyboard. You can quote different examples of different games played by the students. Some of the students are used to use six keys at the time, at the same time. So their efficiency and their results are six times greater. Their game reached to their peak six times earlier as compared to those who are using only one finger on the keyboard. So instructional material and resources, instructional groups, lesson and unit structure, designing students' assessment. It's very congruent with the instructional outcomes, whatever the outcomes have been framed. The, the assessment uh, model will also be coherent with the congruence, concurrent with those instructional outcomes. Criteria and standards, design of formative assessment, use of planning. Domain 2, the classroom environment. Creating an environment of respect and rapport, teacher interaction with students, including both words and actions, reflect genuine respect and caring for individuals as well as a group of students. Students appear to trust the teachers with sensitive information. So in this diagram you can see how the students feel easy to shake hands with their teacher. Student interaction with other students, including both words and actions. Students demonstrate genuine caring for one another and monitor one another, others' treatment of peers, correcting classmates respectfully when they needed. So, in the second diagram, you can see one of the student is seems had some deficiency as compared to the his peer. So, the his peer is advising him and trying to correct him where he needs the things. So It's very about uh, genuine caring of one another. Monitor students demonstrate genuine caring for one another and monitor one another's treatment of peers, correcting classmates respectfully when needed. In this domain, it is all about the rapport and environment. Thus, when student teacher are closer to each other towards, they feel some up to much extent easiness to be friendly with each other, and the students are also mixed up and don't hesitate to correct and help their fellows and peers. Such an thus environment triggers the learning process. To be establishing a culture for learning, you can see in this diagram on the teacher have has posed any of the question and the students warmly uh, participating and are willingly wanted to respond the teacher. So it is very importance of the content and the learning. Students demonstrate through their active participation, curiosity, and taking initiative that they value the importance of the content. Expectations for learning and achievement, instructional outcomes, activities and assignments, and class interactions convey high expectations for all students. Students appear to have internalized these expectations. So all of these expectations stated here in this point two, the students have to internalize that these all things are very necessary for them. So you can see in this class the visible number of students is 3, and all 3 have raised their hand to respond the teacher to part. That is the result of culture of learning through an good environment of learning. Establishing a culture of learning carried out, you can see in this diagram, both of the students are happy and on the same page. They are on a discussion and reading of a certain similar page. Students' pride in work. Students demonstrate attention to detail and take obvious pride in their work, initiating important improvement in it by, for example, revising drafts of their own or helping peers. To see managing classroom procedures, you can see in this diagram different procedures and rules have been highlighted on different cards, like quit, and they have to, from the teacher side, to be shown to the students that you can quit. Time to clean up, they have to raise, and in schedule they have maintained different times, and at that time when it started, it is raised and students do that thing. Look and listen, please line up, and please uh, raise your hand who's got it. Likewise, management of instructional groups. Small group works in well organized, and students are productively engaged at all times, with students assuming responsibility for productivity. Management of transitions. Transitions are seamless, with students assuming responsibility in ensuring their efficient operation. Managing classroom procedures. Management of materials and supplies. So different type of materials and supplies are needed in the classroom. Its equipments for writing boards, uh, drawing books, drawing paper, drawing material, uh, technical gadgets, so and so. Routines of for handling materials and supplies are seamless. Students assuming some responsibility for smooth operation. They are tamed and they have learned that the things provided them for uh, learning are very necessarily to be protected. So therefore, they take care of all these things. Performance of instructional duties. Systems for performing non-instructional duties are well established, with students assuming considerable responsibility for efficient operation. So, with the certain performance of responsibility, the students can take good care of all these things, and their performance of non-instructional duties yields good results. Managing student behavior, you can see in this diagram four of the students, and they have different faces. So that's all about their behavior when they are angry, when they are joyfully excited, so and so. And expectations, standards of conduct are clear to all students and appear to have been developed with the students' participation. When the students are not involved and students are not very clear about the instructions, they might have some differences with others that will highly impact on their learning, and they might not be good participant of that very much class. Monitoring of student behavior. Monitoring by teacher is subtle and preventive. Students monitoring their own and their peers' behavior, correcting one another respectfully. So respectfully, they should can correct with each other if their behavior is being monitored. Otherwise, they can have some quarrel with each other and have abuse. So to avoid all these things, they should be uh, kept an on an eye under eye to be good performers. Managing students' behavior, response to students' misbehavior. Teacher response to misbehavior is highly effective and sensitive to the students' individual needs. Our students' behavior is entirely appropriate. So when the teacher is behaving them with the pleasing face, they have the similar reflection from the students. And if he or she is with some much rude attitude, the students will be might be gone through some sadness and fear, so that it's not positive towards their learning. Organizing physical space. It's very necessary to uh, physically be at some distance and should be relaxed sitting, as you can see in this diagram in the classroom. Teacher herself is on sitting on the ground, and the students are much in relaxed mood. But in my opinion, the students sitting on behind of the teacher are not much actively participating, because the facing face and reading face reading and gestures are only can be taken if they are in the front, and they can be active participants. Safety and accessibility. The classroom is safe, and the students themselves ensure that all learning is equally accessible to all students. Arrangement of furniture and use of physical resources is very necessary. Both the teacher and students use physical resources easily and skillfully, and the students adjust the furniture to advance their learning. So, according to their need and according to their physical need and learning need, they can manage and move all those that furniture accordingly. Domain 3, instruction. This is the now the up to here the readiness have been made. Now it is the time to uh, deliver content. So you can read all about it on my blog and tag. Okay. Uh, the student is asking to his father that you can read about the instruction and on my blog that he or she has been trained up to that extent. He is the blog writer, communicating with the students. This it is reflective from this diagram that how much pleasingly and with some deep participation teacher is communicating and students are decoding. Expectations for learning teacher makes the purpose of the lesson or unit clear, including where it is situated within broader learning, linking that purpose to the students. Student interacts, directions and procedures. Teachers' directions and procedures are clear to the students and anticipate possible students' misunderstanding. So when the students' misunderstandings are clearer, the students are happy and feel ease towards their learning. So communication plays a vital role towards the understanding. If it is very clearer and effective, the learning is effective. So expectations of the content, teacher's explanation of the content is imaginative and connects with the students' knowledge and experience. Students contribute to explaining concepts to their peers. The use of oral and written language. Teachers' spoken and written language is correct and conforms the standard English. It is also expressive with well chosen vocabulary that enrich the lesson. Teacher finds opportunities to extend students' vocabularies using questioning and discussions techniques. It's very effective technique towards the effective learning. By posing a question, teacher can open the eye and mind of the students and can check up to what extent they have the knowledge about that content is going to be delivered there, and students participation towards that very much content makes able the teacher to understand up to what extent the learning have been made. So the participation of the students through discussion, through questioning is and a good component towards the effective teaching and learning. Component 3C, engaging students in learning. You can see in this diagram a student in lab performing experiment with some dropper. She is putting drops on some slide. I think so. She might be working on slides for bacteria and some other things. So these activities and the assignments, uh, all students are cognitively engaged in the activities and assignments in their exploration of the content. Students initiate or adapt activities and projects to enhance their understanding. So in such certain activities, groups of the students can be made. The instructional groups are productive and fully appropriate to the students or to instructional purpose of the lesson. Students take the initiative to influence the formation of adjustment of instructional groups. Instructional material and the resources are also very necessarily to be provided in time sufficient and with the feasible uh, spacing. These uh, uh, these are to engage the students mentally. Students initiate the choice, adaptation, or creation of material to enhance their learning. Component 3D, using assessment in instructions. Students are fully aware of the criteria and performance standards by which their work will be evaluated and have contributed to the development of the criteria. So at this in this diagram, you can see teacher is developing the criteria on which the students will be assessed for their assessment. So when they have participated, they will work accordingly and provide the relevant things and have some understanding, much uh, deep understanding about the content. So feedback of the students is very crucial. Students not only frequently assess and monitor the quality of their own work against the assessment criteria and performance standards, but also make active use of information they are learning of the process. Therefore, teachers are not monitor students' learning in the curriculum, but the students too, monitoring themselves towards the learning, demonstrating flexibility and responsiveness, lesson adjustment. Teachers successfully make some major adjustment to a lesson when needed. So, according to the need of the student, it is adjusted. It's not necessarily that on the scheduled time they have to study the certain thing which that is in the mind of the teacher. If the students are not ready for that content, the topic can be changed and can be made according to the desire, need, and happiness of the students. Because ultimate need is to make some learning over there. Therefore, response to the students, teachers seizes a major opportunity to enhance learning, building a student interacts are spontaneous events. 3E, demonstrating flexibility and responsiveness. So through persistence, teacher persistence seeking effective approaches for students who need help using an extensive repertoire of strategies and soliciting additional resources from the school. So little by little one travels far. आहिस्ता आहिस्ता ही जिस तरह आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ पे रेगिस्तान है और साले समुंदर पे, तो पानी तक प्यासा जब पहुँचता है तो पहुँचने के लिए उसे कुछ तो सफ़र तय करना पड़ता है। तो थोड़ा थोड़ा जमा करके ज़्यादा हो जाता है और फिर वो पुट द एफर्ट एंड practice and gain the goal. Domain 4, the professional responsibilities. Uh, it has first component is the reflecting on teaching. It includes accuracy and use of future teaching. Accuracy towards the teacher makes a thoughtful and accurate assessment of lessons effectiveness and the extent to which it achieved its instructional outcomes, citing many specific examples for the lesson and weighing the relative strengths of each. So that is all about the accuracy. And when we discuss about the future teaching, drawing on an extensive repertoire of skills, teacher offers specific alternative actions, completes with the probable success of different courses of action. Maintaining accurate records for the teachers, in addition to their content delivery, it's very necessary to maintain the students' portfolio, students' assignments, students' completion, and their learning records and their non-structural records. So the teacher have to participate in some managerial tasks alongside with the content delivery and teaching tasks. Communicating with families is also an responsibility of the teacher to manage it. For this, teacher provides frequent information to the families as appropriate about the instructional program. Students participate in preparing materials for their families. The material for their families is to the awareness about the school program, classes, schedule, and learning status. Information about individual students. Teacher provides information to families frequently on the students' progress, with students contributing to the design to the system response to family concerns is handled with great professional and cultural sensitivity, because uh, the extent up to which families and teachers can discuss the problems of a student in detail and help them to uh, motivate and have some effective reflection on the student's performance. Nobody can do other than both of these. So the role of teacher towards this is very important. 4C, communicating with families. Again, in this diagram, you can see it's much pleasing diagram. The students are happy with the teacher, and I think so. The engagement of families in the instructional program is their teachers' efforts to engage families in the instructional program are frequent and successful. Students contribute ideas for project, and that could be enhanced by family participation, because they have to invest, they have to provide the facilities to their kids uh, towards the preparation of the certain projects. Uh, Participating in a professional community. You can see students are here making some project. So in this, they are involved. So such culture is necessarily to be developed with where uh, involvement in and culture of professional inquiry. Teacher takes a leadership role in promoting a culture of professional inquiry, because relationship with colleagues are characterized by the mutual support and cooperation. Teacher takes initiative in assuming leadership among the faculty and leadership towards the students. Service to the school. Teacher volunteers to participate in school events, making substantial contribution, and assumes a leadership role in at least one aspect of the school life. At the same time, he or she is participating in school and district projects. Uh, for growing and developing professionally. So here I think so they are celebrating the achievements of the students, enhancement of the content, knowledge, and pedagogical skills. Teacher seeks out opportunities for professional development and makes systematic efforts to conduct action research. So such type of workshop can provide teachers support, and they can seek different feedback as well. And finally, this plays a vital role towards their service to the profession. Showing professionalism is much necessarily be taken into consideration. That is about the integrity and ethical conduct of the teacher towards his colleagues, families, and the students. And service to the students is highly proactive. Teachers should be highly proactive towards facilitating the students, and advocacy. Teacher makes a concerted efforts to challenge negative attitudes or practices to ensure that all students, particularly those traditionally undeserved, are honored in the school. This is the advocacy of the culture. Showing professionalism continued from the previous slide. The third component is the decision making and compliance with the school and district regulations. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.